The following recording is a production of Kickin' Out at 2 in conjunction with the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network and is intended for private use only. For more information, head on over to facebook.com/Kickin' Out at 2 or our Twitter handle @Kickin' Out 2, along with searching Retromania with a W on any and all podcast platforms available to listen to archive shows such as this and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network. Evergreen content at your fingertips anytime at your listening pleasure. And with that being said, we thank you for listening and hope you enjoy the show. You've tuned into another nostalgic trip down pro wrestling memory lane here on Kickin' Out at 2. I'm your host, Dave Rosenbluth, and joining me as we are almost in the home stretch of WrestleMania season, sporting his brand new old school WWF trucker hat. No, we don't have a YouTube page to document this, but it looks pretty snazzy in it. My good friend, my dear close personal longtime friend, my buddy, my co-pilot in this journey, Dennis J. Levy. What's up, dude?
Dave, I'm so fucking excited for this podcast. When you text me this format, I got super excited. That I work third shift now. It's a temporary thing.
Yep.
But it's night out at the front desk, and you get to do nothing. So I was just watching like matches and stuff like the preparation of this podcast. I had so much fun doing it. I'm so excited for this podcast.
So am I. And what Dennis is alluding to, for those of you that are listening out there, this is our Hall of Fame Immortal Moments selection show. As recently WWE announced going into WrestleMania weekend this year that they are going to be inducting a match into the WWE Hall of Fame. They've classified it as an immortal moment. And that match is the WrestleMania 13 submission match, the classic between Bret the Hitman Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which signified the most infamous double turn in wrestling history. Bret Hart became a bad guy following that match, and Stone Cold Steve Austin was well on his way to being the top babyface in all of WWF and possibly even all of wrestling at that time, because he was so largely popular, and his popularity was continuing to grow. So I thought it would be fun for us to go back and select some matches that we feel would be worthy enough to go into the WWE Hall of Fame as an immortal moment. Now, a lot of these matches we've probably talked about before. We've probably covered. You can check us out in the archives by searching Retromania with a W on Podbean or any podcast platform available. You'll find this show and all the great content of the Retromania Pro Wrestling Podcast Network at your fingertips. Go check it out. Social media, you guys killed it with this discussion, and I'm going to get into some of the selections on social media as well. But I just thought that, not without being too structured, that Dennis and I would have selections of our own. So if you will, Dennis, let's start. Well, I originally told you let's narrow it down to 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You said you've got at least 9. So we're just going to cover it. We're going to cover them all, and we're going to have fun with this. So why don't you start before we start, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me get your thoughts on it. I know you don't watch a whole lot of wrestling anymore. WrestleMania, especially even during, I know you got priorities. Baseball season, the Mets are hot right now. During football season, don't fuck with the Vikings. Hockey season, springtime coming around, as we approach the Maple Leafs, I don't know what their standings are.
We're very good this year.
Okay, so
very good.
So you've got a full plate from a sports, we're NCAA basketball. We just reached the tail end.
What I didn't know until yesterday, Paige Becker's huge Viking fan. Let's go, UConn.
UConn, that's right. Yes, UConn women at the time of this recording just won the women's national championship. At the time of this recording, the men will be playing this evening.
It's University of Houston versus Florida.
Okay, gotcha. See, I stopped watching after UConn got eliminated, unfortunately.
Great game, though. Here's Florida in the national championship, and UConn had them on the ropes. They were winning 3 minutes to go.
Yes,
and then they blew it.
I do remember that. Yeah, I did watch that game. Anyhow, so WrestleMania season, you haven't really watched a whole lot. I'm guessing you haven't really even seen clips of what's taking place in WWE.
I saw the Cody the Cody signing with Roman Reigns was fucking hilarious during the signing of that match.
Oh, you mean him punking Rollins?
Yeah, I know this is maybe not the place to do it, but I am making a prediction. Heyman turns on both of them. He's going to join Seth Rollins. That's my prediction.
Okay, a lot of people have suggested that.
Oh, really? I thought it was being unique and hipster.
No. I mean, it would be a natural progression.
Yeah.
However, I could see Rollins winning the match, and because of Punk and Roman and kind of Heyman in the middle, Rollins is just the opportunist that kind of sneaks in and gets the victory. Whether that leads to an alliance with Paul Heyman, I wouldn't be against that either. But you said you saw the Cody Cena back and forth.
Yeah.
What do you think of this Cena heel turn?
I don't have a valid opinion. That I finally, like 2 weeks ago, just walked into it watching YouTube, and it just looped over, and it showed the Cena Bomber heel turn at the Elimination Chamber.
Yes.
So I finally did see that.
Okay.
So I don't have a valid opinion on it. That moment itself was as advertised. That was one of the greatest heel turns I've ever seen in my life. I wanted to hate on it. I'd be like, no.
All right, let me ask you this.
But it was good.
Where does it rank in all-time heel turns? Because the discussion has been out there that it's even surpassed the Hulk Hogan heel turn from Bash at the Beach 96.
I wish I saw it live since it had the real effect on it.
Okay.
But I put it right up there, man. It's the greatest heel turn of all time, my opinion. But I'll die on the hill. Of course, Hogan, NWO. But my second favorite heel turn, I get shit on this because people think it was a corny time of wrestling, whatever. But I love Tatanka. Nobody saw Tatanka joining the $1 Million Corporation.
I'll be honest with you.
That's my second favorite one of all time.
Tatanka's heel turn at SummerSlam in 1994 is a soft spot for me for a couple of reasons. One, like you, nobody saw it coming. Because I just thought of big, muscular, manufactured USA Lex Luger taking the money and joining up with Ted DiBiase. Because you just looked at Luger and you're like,
he's the narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. He's a jerk. Even when he was in WCW as a horseman, you just looked at him and you're like, this doesn't scream babyface to me. So I thought this is easy. Luger's joining the $1 Million Corporation. But when they had Tatanka do it, I was like, whoo, I didn't see that coming, number one. Number two, I got to witness it in real time because I watched it on pay-per-view. It was one of the very few pay-per-views I got to order as a kid. So for me, it's personal because it's I feel like I was exclusive that I saw that first. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it had that kind of effect on me. As weird as that may sound to some of you listening. So yeah, I put the Cena turn up there. I put that as number two. To be I'm sorry. I'll go.
You put up more than HBK in the Rockers?
Marty Jannetty? Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. And here's why. Because WWE could have taken the easy route with John Cena's last year. This is his retirement tour. And they could have, done the handshake and the kissing babies and, selling the T-shirts and waving everybody. This is my last time in Minnesota. This is my last time in Nebraska. This is my last time in New York. Do the Derek Jeter. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they went against the grain to challenge themselves creatively and challenge the audience in a way creatively and totally throw us for a loop that he's going to be a bad guy. Potentially on his way out the door. To me, I think that's genius. I really do. And that's why I put that up there as the number two heel turn of all time behind Hulk Hogan.
It's still too early. We got to let history... I hate when, for example...
That's fair. That's fair to say.
I hate people already saying, "Oh, Trump is the worst president of all time."
You're going to go politics?
No. I'm just saying real quick. I'm just making that analogy. We're too quick on the draw. We're not going to know until 20 years from now how good or bad Biden and Trump really was. You know what I mean? The same thing. It's it just happened. We got to let it marinate.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Let's move on here. What are your thoughts on WWE inducting matches into the Hall of Fame, and in particular, this one with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13 being the first?
That sooner or later, man, they were going to have to go deep in the bag. And like I'm pitching about Coco Beware, man. They were going to have to go like Mike Sharpen sooner or later.
Red Rooster?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So I think this is a great idea. I really, really do.
And I like how they classified it as an immortal moment. They didn't UFC does these. They've inducted fights into the Hall of Fame, into their Hall of Fame. So this doesn't surprise me that that WWE has gone this route. TKO, as owns both UFC and WWE, so it does not surprise me that they've added some shelf life to their Hall of Fame concept. Because to be quite honest with you, this is almost in a way, an out for them if they wanted to induct somebody again. So in more recent years, Ric Flair's been a 2-time Hall of Famer. Shawn Michaels is a 2-time Hall of Famer. Booker T is a 2-time Hall of Famer. Bret Hart's a 2-time Hall of Famer. Now he'll be a 3-time Hall of Famer with this immortal moment match with Steve Austin. Triple H is going to be a 2-time Hall of Famer. Did you, speaking to that, you're aware of this year's Hall of Fame class?
Not really. I was trying to think that.
So this match, Austin and Brett's going in.
Yep.
The Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon, are going in as a tag team.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
The Earthquake by himself makes perfect sense.
I agree.
The Natural Disasters, really?
Yeah. I thought
Demolition, but Natural Disasters. Okay. Sure.
Well, they just signed Demolition to a Legends deal, so I think that Hall of Fame induction is coming. It wouldn't surprise me if it takes place next year. I mean, they got to get everything down the pipe. They just signed them to a Legends deal like a month and a half ago. Okay. So it would not surprise me if this becomes, like they get new action figures. They a Hall of Fame appearance. You'll see them make appearances for the company at certain events, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. So the Natural Disasters. Lex Luger's going in finally this year.
I think he's a piece of shit, but he deserves it.
All right, so all right. While we're on this subject, since you've opened this can of worms,
that's my
piece
girl.
of shit because of what happened to Elizabeth.
That's my girl.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, she was mine first. Okay, she was my first crush. All right, but let me ask you this. Okay, the man did something wrong, and his actions helped contribute to her death, okay? Yep. Not in a malicious way, in my opinion. I mean, he went through a lot of problems. He had drug issues and alcohol issues and other mental health issues. But in the last 15 years, the man has worked hard to redeem himself now I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but he has admitted publicly on Eric Bischoff's podcast and on other public platforms that he takes responsibility for what took place that led to her passing.
I really do.
Okay,
I'm being a little bit of a ball buster.
Okay,
but I would like to think, though, at the end of the day, right? I'm in love with this woman, right? And you could tell that he was. That I'm seeing her doing lines on a table. I'm like, no, we're getting help today.
Yeah, but he was doing it too.
But I'm just saying, I would like to think that in the perfect world, that if I'm seeing that, I'm like, okay, we're getting clean today.
Okay, but if he didn't, I'm not rationalizing the drug use, but if he's partaking in it just as much as she is, if not more, do you think he's in his right mind thinking that?
No, I'm just saying that's what I'm saying. In a perfect world,
okay, fair enough. Excuse me. So Luger's going in. And there's rumors that Sting might induct him.
That makes sense. What do you think should induct the Lugster?
The Lexorcist, as Mr. Perfect called him at WrestleMania 9. Well,
that's funny. Lexorcist. That should be.
If you go back and watch WrestleMania 9, Mean Gene interviews Mr. Perfect before that match, and he gets all fumbled with words, and he was like, "The Lexorcist, the Dark." Luger, and then Gene's like, he kind of like covers up for him, and then he goes out for the match. It was kind of funny. I'm surprised they kept that one on the cutting room floor. But the rumor is that WWE has tried to reach out to Sting and to AEW because Sting is still under an AEW Legends kind of contract. And you know how the AEW and WWE fans are. They just another reason to, continue this tribalistic war that the both fan bases have. Luger was present at Sting's retirement match, but he wasn't allowed to appear on camera because of his WWE contract. So many fans are arguing, well, why should Sting do this? Why should Tony Khan let Sting do this? I've not heard one way or another if it's going to happen or not. But I think Sting's the perfect choice. If not, the backup plan is Diamond Dallas Page, who just recently has been involved in Luger's health with his medical condition, with his paralysis. Luger is now, through the help of Diamond Dallas Page and his yoga program, he's starting to slow steps to try to walk on his own without the use of crutches. He's able to stand up on his own. The goal for them, at least in the interview that I read recently, is for Luger to be able to walk out onto the stage at the podium to accept the award for the Hall of Fame. So it would be fitting if Diamond Dallas Page was a part of that as well. Luger even said, he goes, I'd like two. I'd like Sting and DDP. If they can't get Sting for whatever reason, Diamond Dallas Page is the easy shoe-in. Also going into the Hall of Fame, Michelle McCool.
I actually like that pick.
Okay.
When they had that grace period, or she was like the first SmackDown Women's Champion. I don't know if she was like a first champion of something.
Divas champion? Was it that Divas title?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So it was a place for her she was the best of the Divas searches by a country mile.
Yeah.
To be the best wrestler. But Maria, she did her thing, and
Maria.
Maria.
Oh, okay.
Maria and Christy Hemme.
Okay.
But the cream of the crop was by far Michelle McCool.
She's very talented. I'm not against the induction either.
I actually like it.
I do think though that from a pure wrestling standpoint and popularity, I think Mickie James probably would have been a better fit to go into the Hall of Fame before her. But who knows if they have? I mean, considering also too, she's on that show that they have on A&E, that Tough Enough style contest show that they have. But I also think too, this is in some way I
think Mickie James though probably wants a farewell match.
I could see that too. I could definitely see that too. But I think this Michelle McCool induction is somewhat attached to Undertaker because they're married, and Undertaker has this show out right now, that Tough Enough show that he's a part of, and the rumor is that Michelle McCool is going to be a part of that for the next season. So maybe that's just the motivations behind it. And then last but not least, Triple H will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well deserved.
On his own.
Yeah. I think he might be the first one when when all the dust are settled. Be almost like the first GM too. Would be that
first executive.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
probably Vince. Can you put Vince in anymore?
They're not going to put Vince in.
No,
they're not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be Triple H. I think he'd be the first in.
Well, first major executive.
Yeah.
I mean, they've inducted other executives that worked in the company behind the scenes.
I didn't know that.
Like Tim White when he was as a referee, but also he was like Andre the Giant's handler for such a long period of time. They recognized Tim White a couple of years ago. They've even recognized some people in like their public relations department that worked with like Make-A-Wish and other different charities. Okay. They've recognized them over the course of the last few years, but. Triple H, the headliner, with Michelle McCool, Lex Luger, the Natural Disasters, and this Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Immortal Moments match. Now, on that subject, just to kind of put a button on it, if there's anyone to induct Bret Hart and Stone Cold from that WrestleMania match, who inducts them in their Immortal Moment?
Why the hell not? Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
He was literally in the match.
Yeah, he was the referee.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a rumor that Ken Shamrock was going to be a part of this year's Hall of Fame induction class.
He should be in it.
So... what if at the time of this recording, if they announce that Shamrock goes in, there's rumors of like Shamrock and Kamala were like the last two that might have rounded out this class, but I don't think they're going to add anybody. But if they do add Shamrock in a Hall of Fame induction, then it would kind of segue into him introducing Bret Nolan. But yeah, Shamrock's a easy shoe-in for this match to be the one to induct the both of them. Who knows if they will even have an inductor? We don't even know that for sure. We don't know who's inducting who.
Yeah, that's very tricky. How do they do that? You know,
In the last few years, I think what they've done with the concept is they've realized that like it's a little long in the tooth. Like you sit through some of those Hall of Fames and like, I mean, Hillbilly Jim in 2018, I wasn't there, but I know people that were. He set the bar pretty high when it came to long induction speeches. Good Lord, he went over 40 minutes on his speech alone.
Did he really?
And it just kind of dragged. And they've had Hall of Fames that have just really dragged it. Have gone like 4.5 hours where like you could see like and this was before there were 2 nights of WrestleMania where there was one night and these guys got to get up the next morning because WrestleMania is a long day between rehearsals and getting everything together. It's a long process. So you see the talents and people, sitting. Some are falling asleep. I remember I watched one a couple of years back. Paul Orndorff, when he was still alive, he's passed out in his seat. The camera was right on him. So I think what they're trying to do is be more conscious of like the time restraints. And there's been some years where they didn't even have people induct individuals into the Hall of Fame because they wanted to scale back on time with speeches. So, I'm looking forward to the Hall of Fame. It's going to be on at 1:00 in the morning Eastern Standard Time because it takes place in Vegas.
Yeah.
And they're going to go on right after SmackDown ends. So it's going to start at 10 o'clock local time in Vegas. So I'll be asleep and I'll probably catch the show the next day. Before WrestleMania Saturday. But anyhow, let's get into it. We've gone 20 minutes or so, rambling on about WrestleMania season. Let's talk about the Immortal Moments matches that we select to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Like you said, you got 9. I got about 5 or 6. I have a list, but like for the purposes of this, let's start off with you, Dennis. What match do you feel goes into that you think deserves to be selected as an immortal moment to go into the WWE Hall of Fame?
All right. So originally I wanted just to be like, all right, if I'm gonna have my like a WWE Hall of Fame just to be like correct and whatever, rather with the hell of it, my list is going to be matches that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but like. But I would personally just go to the WWE Network and be like, that's the one I'm watching today, whatever. So the most impactful match, I'm going to start with the most impactful match I've ever watched in my whole entire life. Okay. Randy Macho Man Savage, which is Ultimate Warrior retirement match.
WrestleMania 7.
The match itself, the Elizabeth ending, that it's the most impactful match. I think this is going to be such an unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion, thank you. It's the best WrestleMania match of all time.
Wow.
Between everything included. You know what was it took me, I watched this match 100 times. It took me this 100th time watching it last night. It was the chef kiss. The Ultimate Warrior walked to the ring. He walked to the ring.
It was because of the severity of the stipulation and how serious it was that he was taking this seriously without,
his trunks with the title.
It means more than the belt. Yeah.
Macho Man Savage, 5 elbow drops.
Yeah.
Kicks out. I'm sorry. I'm just getting really excited. Most impactful match. It had a great work rate. The best. Warrior Hogan, great match. That's times a million.
Wow.
Ultimate Warrior's best match.
I don't hate that selection. I have that on. I wrote a list down of certain matches that would go in, and I'm only going to select like 5 or 6, maybe even 7, for the purpose of this podcast. But that was one of them that I had on my list of potential candidates. I love that match. If you all listening go into the archives, Dennis and I a couple of years ago did a watch along of that match, and I sat next to you as we watched this match and we were recording it, and it was even 30 years later, you had watery eyes like you were about to cry, and the literal, both of us had, and I hate this term because people overdo it, but like the goosebumps. We both had them on our arms when we were watching this match. And the moment, especially at the end, when Savage and Elizabeth reunite. And then you see the audience. You see members of the audience crying.
Bananas.
Bawling their eyes out. Because for so long, they were invested in this love story between the two of them, and the way that Savage had treated her, and then they split up, and then she comes back for this important moment in his career, and then they reunite. It was a roller coaster of emotions, and even 30 years later, you said it best. It was the most impactful, and the emotions were very impactful to you. I remember when watching it with you as well as myself. To me, I look at that as that's the Ultimate Warrior's best match ever. And he's got a short list of
great
matches.
Was really incredible he did.
It was absolutely incredible. And then, like you said earlier, him coming down the aisle, walking, the airbrush tights with the championship. This means more than it means more than this.
Man, he looked fantastic.
And
Just him and Sherry both looked fantastic.
Yeah, Savage and Sherry, they looked great. And to me, and I could say this now, but during WrestleMania season, they always throw out this WrestleMania moments, and they show clips and highlight reels of different things like Edge spearing Jeff Hardy off the ladder at WrestleMania 17 to Rock and Cena face to face at WrestleMania 28, Hogan slamming Andre, all this stuff, right? They show all these in the WrestleMania highlight reels every single year. And one thing that they tend to leave out, to the best of my knowledge, is Savage and Elizabeth, with Elizabeth on Savage's shoulders reuniting at WrestleMania 7. And that, in my opinion, is the definition. That and Hogan slamming Andre are the definitions of WrestleMania moments. And the Savage Warrior one, in my opinion, that is the ultimate WrestleMania moment right there. As impactful as Hogan slamming Andre was, I think there was more of an investment from the audience in Savage and Elizabeth's reuniting than Hogan slamming Andre.
Yeah.
And everyone wanted to see Hogan slam Andre, myself included. That was a big thing as a kid. But there was so much of more of an emotional investment in Savage and Warrior and Savage and Elizabeth's reunion at the end of that match that really stands out to me as the ultimate WrestleMania moment. But that's a great selection. That is without a doubt. I don't blame you for that. So, yeah. So if the power were up to you, Dennis J. Levy, you are inducting Randy Savage,
that'll be the first one,
Ultimate Warrior from WrestleMania 7 into the Hall of Fame. Now, one of our listeners on social media, Dave Solinsky, he actually talked about WrestleMania moments more so than matches that should go into the Hall of Fame, and that was one of them. Savage reuniting with Miss Elizabeth.
I would agree with
and he's not wrong. I mean, if there's more of an immortal moment, it's that one, in my opinion. Let's move on here. One of the first matches that I thought of that surprised me that it didn't go in as the first choice was that I'm going to select to go into the Immortal Moments classification of the WWE Hall of Fame is Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant,
of course,
WrestleMania 3.
No-brainer.
Talk to me about your thoughts on that match and why do you think it didn't go in first this year?
That blows my mind that it's not.
Okay.
So I can't.
Despite Hogan's public affiliation with Donald Trump and the recent backlash from the Netflix
between Vince McMahon and now Hogan, and I just think maybe they didn't want that stigma. But the one that deserves to be in is definitely Hogan slamming Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Come on. That's the Babe Ruth points the right
calls his shot. Yep.
That's the Joe Montana to Taylor in the back of the end zone. Michael Jordan walk off shot in Game 6 against the Jazz.
Yep.
Hogan
Andre. Yeah.
Andre.
I mean, I think it will get in there someday. I truly do. I just think right now, because of the public stigma that surrounds Hogan, more recently the family drama that's involving his ex-wife and his daughter, and how she has a estranged relationship with both of her parents, and I think that they realized after the Netflix debacle when, all of Los Angeles had booed him, that I think they realized that maybe we should hold off on putting Hogan out there as much as they have in the past. And I don't think he should have a regular role on television or anything like that, but recognizing his achievements, I think is separate from the person he is outside of wrestling. And we talked about it before. If he were to publicly apologize and own his responsibility for the racial remarks that he had made, I don't think there would be as big of a public outcry over his. But the fact that he didn't do that necessarily, and he more so tried to explain that it was about being recorded in private instead of owning, like, hey, I screwed up, I shouldn't have dropped the hard R. Like, that's what people, I think, are more upset about today. I don't think people care as much about the affiliation with Trump. I think people do, but I don't think it's as big. I think people are more upset about what he said publicly in that sex tape with the hard R. So I think that's kind of what has prevented them from putting this match with him and Andre first. Now, with that being said, are there any Hogan matches on your list that make that make your selection for the Immortal Moments
Negative.
Hall of Fame? You don't have one Hogan match on your list?
No.
Wow. Okay.
That Hogan Andre Giant was a no-brainer, but I knew you were going to pick it, so that's why I left it off.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I got a few other selections that involve Hogan.
I got an honorable mention. I thought about putting it in, but the match itself is a stinker, so I can't do it. Back to the Beach when he turns heel.
That was a stinker?
I didn't like it.
See, I got that. I'll go on record. All right, let's do it then. I'm going to induct the Outsiders against Macho Man, Sting, and Lex Luger from Bash at the Beach with the Hulk Hogan heel turn.
I thought I could have sworn that match was going to make it, but I thought it was a stinker of a match.
So here's what I thought about the match. I didn't think the match was bad. I thought the story was good, and the strategy of eliminating Luger so that when Hogan comes later, it's Hogan and the Outsiders with the advantage over Sting and Luger. Looking back on it now when you watch it, however, let's remember they classified this as Immortal Moments. How do you not induct Hulk Hogan's heel turn into the WWE Hall of Fame as an immortal moment as part of that match?
I don't know. I don't know. I just think that the match was a stinker, and it made a sack of potatoes too. Once again, seen this match 100 times.
What's with you and sack of potatoes?
I love sack. I'm Irish.
Okay. Fair enough.
So again, watch this match 100 times, and it took me the 100th time to figure out. Wait a second, it's 3 versus 2. And the 3 guys are looking like jerks the whole match. The Outsiders are getting over the whole fucking time. It was so crazy.
Do you remember how Luger was taken out pretty early in the match, making it an even tag?
I'm just saying, though, it made them look like clowns to me.
Okay. Ironic, they're all wearing face paint. You call them clowns.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I don't know. I put that in the Hall of Fame. That was my next selection. That's my number 2 match to go into the Immortal Moments section of the WWE Hall of Fame. All right, give me another one. What do you got?
All right, so for me, once again, that a match that I'll never forget, that TLC number 1, Dudley's, Christian, and the Hardys at WrestleMania. TLC that blew my mind.
So which one? Because there seems to be some confusion because there's the Triangle Ladder match from WrestleMania 2000. Then later that year was TLC 1 at SummerSlam.
Then WrestleMania.
And then TLC 2 at WrestleMania 17 was the following year.
The one with Edge, does the spear.
I'll say, so TLC 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
one, I'm sorry. TLC 2 then.
Yeah.
Wrap that in the bow. Put that in the DJL Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Okay.
That spot. I'm speechless over it. How did Jeff Hardy not like get his kidneys or spleen?
I mean, who knows?
Something.
I mean, we weren't there for the medical report,
I'm saying,
but
though, that there was like a very famous moment at the end where all six of them were hugging each other and stuff like that. And Jeff looked like he was doing great. But
we talking about like behind the scenes?
Yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah.
I
think I saw that clip. Yeah.
That match. Yeah. I just can't believe how good that match was.
Now, what did you think of the inclusion of Rhino, Lita, and Spike Dudley in that match when they came in to represent their respective? Do you remember it?
Yeah. They had their purpose.
Yep.
So it made sense.
Do you think though that? So let's go back to the other. And I like this selection. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. Do you think that they were going to the well too often with the TLC matches at that point because they had already done TLC 1 at SummerSlam, the Triangle Ladder match at WrestleMania 2000 the year prior, and you were kind of seeing similar spots, but the spear obviously, was the one that people most remember. Do you think they were overdoing it at that point, or were you just like, man, like I can't get enough of these TLC matches?
I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
I remember SummerSlam. I don't remember that triangle one you're referring to though. I don't remember that one.
It was
at
the
all.
year. So it was WrestleMania 2000, and it was the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. The Dudleys were the champs, and at the end of the match, they had the table that bridged the two ladders. And Edge and Christian were standing on top of it, and they shoved Matt Hardy off of it through a table.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
That was the triangle ladder match. And then because the Dudleys included tables into the mix, that's what prompted them to call them TLC matches because Edge and Christian used chairs, and that's what set up the SummerSlam match a couple of months later. So, I love that selection. Before we continue, let's go to social media here because you guys rocked it in social media. That's for sure when it comes to the some of your choices here. So Tim LaFountain wrote, "How about Savage and Steamboat from WrestleMania 3 as a selection?" Travis Trudell wrote TLC's 1 and 2, Hell in the Cells 1 and 2, Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair from Great American Bash 1986, and Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage from WrestleMania. Got a lot of Savage Steamboat here.
Which one was Hell in the Cell 2?
Mankind and Undertaker.
Oh, for the record, I got that made your honorable mention. I was going to both of them that are in my Hall of Fame.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that shortly. Deacon Falcone wrote Savage and Warrior, WrestleMania 7. He also wrote Roddy Piper and Greg the Hammer Valentine dog collar match from Starrcade 1983.
For the first, about 2 years ago, I finally did see that match. It was incredible.
Yeah.
That was an incredible match.
It was a really...
For an old school match, that was incredible
really
match.
Physical. Someone wrote... Brian Brewer wrote, pick any one of the trilogies, the match from the Flair Steamboat 1989 trilogy.
Yep.
Here's an interesting one. Paul Michael wrote Hogan and Andre WrestleMania 3.
Yep.
Bash at the Beach 1996. And the 1992 Royal Rumble match that Ric Flair won.
I got that. I had that.
Jesus Christ! You don't want to save the big dramatic drum roll, please?
No, I'm just saying though. If our listening audience gets it, you guys got to give them props. Like boom, yeah. I
Okay.
Had that too.
All right. So why don't we take a break and then let's talk about these next two picks here. So Royal Rumble 1992. That made your list?
Yeah, absolutely it did.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Greatest Royal Rumble, hands down.
Yes.
There's been some incredible Royal Rumbles. The creme la creme, 92. Come on.
Yeah.
And you know me, I love the chef kisses. the Flair promo afterwards and everything. That will live in infamy.
That mean Gene Okerlund telling somebody to put that cigarette out. Yeah, that was good.
Yep.
Think about the star power in that match. Flair,
Yep.
Hogan, Savage, Undertaker, Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts. Who else? Big Boss Man. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Shawn Michaels, British Bulldog, Ted DiBiase, the Iron Sheik, I think, was in that match. Sid. Christ, the list goes on and on and on. Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. I mean, the top of the industry was all in that match. I mean, granted, you didn't have the likes of Sting or Rick Rude or Vader or whoever, but the best of the best were in that match. There is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then the story in the match too. I mean, Savage wanting to get a piece of Jake, so much so that he throws Jake over the top rope and then he eliminates himself in the match. And then Undertaker calls an audible and throws him back in the ring. And then on commentary, they kind of save themselves, if you remember on commentary, where Bobby Heenan's like, no, you can't eliminate yourself. You have to be thrown over the top rope by someone else to be eliminated from the match. So they managed to squeak away with that one. And then the story of Flair. Flair coming over from WCW, claiming to be the real world's champion. He brought over the big gold NWA championship belt. They blurted it out on TV for then him to go, almost 60 minutes at number 3 in the Royal Rumble with Bobby Heenan on commentary.
Yeah, losing his mind.
Any chance that, he could when Flair was getting eliminated. I mean, that's a great selection. And I like how you kind of, you took that match itself. I mean, if there's any Royal Rumble match you put in the Hall of Fame, that's the match
92.
right there. That's 92.
Yeah.
And it gets people like, if you really want to break it down, it gets people like, just about everybody in that Rumble match gets Shawn Michaels, Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, Jake the Snake, Randy Savage, Virgil. Virgil goes into the Hall of Fame because of that match, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Now, if there is anyone so on the subject, if there's anyone to induct that Royal Rumble match into the Hall of Fame, who would it be?
Ric Flair, he won.
So he would be the one to accept the honor, or he would
yeah.
induct the match itself?
We inducted it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Going back to what was your other match? Was it Warrior and Savage?
Yeah, Warrior and Savage.
Who would you have induct that match into the Hall of Fame?
In a perfect world, of course, Elizabeth, but
None of them are
I'm
alive.
insane. If I could, in the perfect, if everyone's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that sad?
Everyone in that match is no longer with us.
Sherry, yeah.
Savage,
oh my
Sherry,
God.
Warrior, and Elizabeth.
Good question.
Gorilla and Bobby, who did commentary, they're not.
You know what? Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
The Sav, the Mega Powers, and Liz.
And then his relationship with Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
I do Hogan.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So you just revealed another match that made your list. You said Hell in the Cell. Or no, I'm sorry. TLC. So TLC.
Yeah.
If TLC gets inducted, who inducts that match into the Hall of Fame? You could do all 6 guys: Edge, Christian, Hardys, and Dudley.
That makes sense.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have to accept the award, but they can induct the match itself, which would be interesting if Bret and Austin induct the match themselves and they don't have someone to induct the match for them.
I hope they talk. I think that'd be cool.
I think they will.
Yeah,
I think they will. I mean, they're advertised to be in attendance for that Hall of Fame ceremony, so that should be pretty cool. Which then opens up the possibility of maybe an Austin appearance at WrestleMania. Who knows? But anyhow, you said your next match into the Hall of Fame was Hell in the Cell?
Both. So I would have Undertaker,
Shawn Michaels,
and Undertaker, Mankind. That Hell in the Cell's both.
Okay.
Both inducted. That Kane's again.
The greatest stage.
I'm obsessed with the French kisses. Everyone knows this. The chef kisses. Kane and the work rate and just everything involved.
Kane's debut, I agree with you, still goes down as the greatest debut in the history of wrestling. I mean, he was a virtual unknown to the world from a physical standpoint, because at the time, as viewers, we wanted to, and to some extent to this day, the mystery of who is Kane, what does he look like, You know, he's the younger brother of Undertaker. Like this mythical figure that it forced the audience in their mind to create this image of what he could be when that day comes that he makes, he surfaces and appears on television. And then you see him and you're like, either it over-delivered on expectations or it was nothing that you expected. Either way, it was still impressive.
Yeah.
And so, surprisingly enough, Dennis, on my list, and I'll show you this for sure. Yeah, there was no mention on my list that I wrote down of Undertaker and Shawn Michaels Hell in the Cell. Now, I do have Undertaker, Mankind, King of the Ring. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Taker throwing Mankind over if I could have the NBA has the logo of Jerry West with the basketball, right?
You would have Undertaker tossing,
absolutely. That would be the logo.
That would be the WWE logo.
That would be my logo. Absolutely.
I like that. That's kind of neat. I didn't even think of that. I mean, if you break it down, that match is more about the 3 moments that took place in that match than the rest of the match itself. The first one being Undertaker tossing Mankind over the top, or off the top of the cage through the announcer's table, with one of the greatest calls in the history of wrestling, "Good God Almighty, they killed him," by Jim Ross. Good God Almighty, they killed him. As God is my witness, he is broken in half. The second being after he gets up from that table spot, he climbs up the cage and he gets chokeslammed through the cage. And somehow the steel chair that was on top of the cage manages to hit him in the face, which then causes his tooth to go up and come out through his nose. Everyone thought it was a big giant booger. Turns out it was his tooth. And then the third one being the choke slam through the thumbtacks, which signaled the end of the match. That is, to me, a definition of an immortal moment that they've classified these matches for their Hall of Fame. Because, if memory serves me correct, there was nothing else memorable about that match, correct?
No, and maybe it's what? The stalling of Terry Funk, brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That was pretty.
That get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
That was pretty clever. Yeah, Undertaker chokeslams him out of his sneakers. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, that match was a hot mess, but the moments that it created are like, in the highlight in the highlight reels forever. And very organic too, because at that time, according to the performers, Undertaker and Mick Foley, they have shared publicly on many interview platforms that, after the first toss, they thought the match was over. And then he gets back up, he climbs that cage, and he chokeslams him through it, and apparently the cage wasn't supposed to break. So he goes through, and he hits that mat, and the chair hits him in the face, and his tooth comes out of his nose. And we're like, oh, man, they thought he was not getting up from that. And he managed to get up from that. And, it definitely, that was right up there. That was one of my picks as well to go into the Hall of Fame. Now, if there's anybody to induct that match, it's got to be Jim Ross.
Oh, absolutely.
For the call that he made on that match.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Definitely worthy of going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, let's go to social media and see who else selected. Here's an interesting one. Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 24, the retirement match.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah? What'd you think of that?
Outside looking in for me, but that great match.
Okay.
Great moment. I love you, man. Boom.
Sorry, I love you. Chris Langell says Taker vs. Foley, Hell in the Cell should have been the first one. And then Dave Selinsky, he said, it's moments, not matches. Savage and Liz reunite after the Warrior match, and Sherry turning on Savage. Shawn Michaels super kicking Shelton Benjamin in midair from Monday Night Raw. Do you remember that?
Great spot.
Okay.
But the match now.
Okay. Flaming tables in ECW. I don't know how. I mean, it's Dave's opinion, but I don't know how that resonates to a Hall of Fame moment.
I do have one spoiler alert.
Okay.
I have 0 ECW matches, believe it or not. That I really wanted to have one in there, but Hall of Fame, I don't want to have on my list. I don't want it to be the Hall of Very Good.
Okay.
So I just couldn't do it.
Okay. And then another selection Dave made was Hogan and Rock WrestleMania 18.
Terrific.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. The next match that makes on my list into the WWE Immortal Moments section of the Hall of Fame is another WCW match. Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero, mask versus title, Halloween Havoc 1997.
Great match.
I mean, it's a personal favorite of mine. Again, I was able to order it on pay-per-view, which, at that time was few and far between for me.
Yeah.
But my favorite spot in that match was Rey climbs up to the ropes as he's holding Eddie's arm, and he's on the top rope. And as he's holding Eddie's arm, Rey does a backflip moonsault, and in midair has his left arm, hooks Eddie Guerrero, and turns it into a DDT. And just the pacing of the match, It was just wall-to-wall like action. Guerrero trying to rip the mask off on numerous occasions. At the time, Mysterio had that like purple phantom. Remember that TV show? It was like a comic book show. I think it was called like Phantasmo or The Phantom or something.
Yeah, The Phantom. Yeah, it was a movie. It was awful.
It was a movie. Okay, yeah. And then so Mysterio had that look to him. And originally they wanted Mysterio to lose his mask at that match.
When he actually did lose it, it was just the dumbest thing.
It was a mistake.
Yeah,
it was definitely a mistake.
All the luchadors lost the mask. It was stupid.
Well, that was also towards the end of WCW when
fucking Russo.
Yeah. But anyhow, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, 1997 Halloween Havoc for the Cruiserweight Championship. Share with me your thoughts on that.
I love that match. I won't lie. I don't think it's either my favorite Rey Mysterio or Eddie Guerrero match, but if it was close to your heart, I'm not going to argue against it. Great match. That one of the few saving graces of that stupid pay-per-view, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But that was a great match.
Yeah, that was headlined by Age in the Cage, Hogan and Piper.
Yeah.
Non-title. Another good match on that show was Macho Man Randy Savage and Diamond Dallas Page in a Vegas like lights out.
That's one of my favorite feuds.
Yes. All right, give me another one. What do you got on your
all right
your Hall of Fame list?
So what everyone listening to the audience of Kicking Night 2 knows that women's wrestling has a huge place in my heart. So I want to go with the most influential women's wrestling match that happened in for North America promotion. Bayley versus Sasha Takeover
Brooklyn.
The first time their first takeover.
Yeah.
Without that match, there's no Four Horsewoman. There's no they laid
the groundwork for
without that match, none of that happens.
It's a great match, and it really it put Sasha and Bayley. At that point, I mean, I think Sasha was already going to the main roster. At that point, I think she was going to the main roster after that match. But yeah, that made them. I hate to use this term pillars, but they became like the pillars of women's wrestling in WWE based off that match. Excellent match. I mean, have it in Brooklyn. The New York crowd was hot for it.
How many times do you say the woman stole the show? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, takeover?
Yeah.
How hard is that?
Yeah. Those takeovers were bangers. Yeah. Those takeovers reminded me a lot of the energy that the ECW shows brought.
Absolutely, just with 10,000 people.
Yeah, but with way more people, and less bounce checks.
I love that line.
But yeah, I don't have any gripe about putting this match in the Hall of Fame. I will say that I think because this match was so good, there are other women's matches of that era that get overlooked. that don't get talked about enough. One of them being an early takeover event, which was Natalya and Charlotte for the NXT Women's Championship, with Bret Hart in Natty's corner and Ric Flair in Charlotte's corner.
All right.
I know you're not a big Charlotte Flair fan, but I do think that from a bell-to-bell work rate standpoint, that's one of her better matches. And she was only like 3 years in the business at that time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have any women's matches to induct on my list, but if I were to induct a women's match on my list, that match would go in. And I would also probably induct 2 years ago, WrestleMania, Charlotte and Rhea Ripley for the women's championship.
Oh yeah,
that to me is the best women's match in WWE at a WrestleMania.
WrestleMania, absolutely. You could. I hate to admit it because it has Ford Flair in it, but it might be the best WWE women's match of all time.
I was just gonna say.
No offense. I know people are gonna go, you're just doing your
you're a hater,
your Dave Meltzer, whatever. But seriously, look up 2000-ish Japanese women's wrestling matches. The Aja Khan versus Toyota. I got my speech impediment, but people know anyway. Just look up those matches, man, and you'll realize there are better women's matches than what was under the WWE.
Screw it. I'm gonna put that match on my Hall of Fame. Charlotte and Rhea, WrestleMania 39, night 1.
Yeah,
for the women's championship.
Is that good?
It really helped elevate Rhea as after that match she was top woman. She was top dog in that division. Charlotte took some time away. Rhea had the belt. She had Judgment Day with her.
Yep.
I mean, she was on a roll. She was on fire after that match. And that match, many argued that match should have went on last the first night because Rhea won the Royal Rumble earlier that year.
Was that with Owens?
Sami Zayn against the Usos?
No, that had to be the main event.
I agree.
It had to be.
I agree because there was a much more structured, emotional story in the Usos against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. The build-up for Charlotte and Rhea was very bland. It didn't really grab me. But the match, they over-delivered.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
For my next pick, I'm putting Charlotte and Rhea Ripley into the WWE Hall of Fame Immortal Moments section.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight that. No way.
Yeah. What else you got?
All right. So I'm changing the pace a little bit. I've been all about moments and impact. This is going to be 20 years from now. Kids are going to be like, after I saw this match, I wanted to be a wrestler, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to go with the greatest work rate match I've ever seen in my life. Okada versus Kenny Omega, Wrestle Kingdom.
Wow.
That's the greatest work rate match I've ever seen.
I had a feeling that was coming. And you know what? I don't hate that pick because was that the one where they went like 45 minutes, if not longer?
Everyone was. There's one. My favorite one that personally was the one. It was an hour. It was an hour time limit draw. That's my personal favorite. But I gotta put the one on Wrestle Kingdom. It was just. That's what people are going to be talking about 20, 30 years from now. The Wrestle Kingdom match.
I think it's a tremendous match. I'm not. I tend to lean more towards WWE centric wrestling, but I do watch other stuff. And at the time, I was going out of my way to watch these Omega and Okada matches. Like I said, don't know the timeline, but I do remember watching the Wrestle Kingdom match. I believe I watched it on YouTube like the next morning. It was available on YouTube somehow. Or no, I'm sorry. I had a friend who had the New Japan World app, and he gave me the password, and I watched the match like the next morning. Hell of a match, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but I don't watch a whole lot of AEW, but it sounds like they're building towards an Omega Okada matchup at the All In pay-per-view in July in Texas.
You're gonna fall out of your chair when I say this.
You don't care.
I don't want it.
You don't care?
I don't want it.
Okay.
It's kind of like I want to remember what like.
Do you think because physically they can't? All right. So let me ask you: if you don't want it, do you think it's because physically they can't deliver what they did a few years ago, or is it because it's under the AEW umbrella?
Every time I watch Okada, he's a shell of himself. I know Omega once a year can put off a banger. You're like, holy fucking shit, Omega, God bless you. But I think Okada, I think he's washed. I think he's done. I really do.
Okay.
But just being in New Japan for all those years, it's gonna fucking catch up to you, and I think it finally caught up to him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
think it's in him. I just don't think those great Okada matches, I think, are behind him.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. Next up, what do you got?
All right. And next up, my God, I'm drawing that I had like 9 of them. Let me see.
All right. So let's go. Let's run down. So Warrior Savage.
Yep.
Both Hell in the Cells.
Yep.
TLC 2.
Yep. Both did TLC 1 and 2.
Oh, you got 1 and 2?
Yep. I put it in because
I thought you put Hell in the Cell 1 and 2.
That's what I mean. Oh, not I'm getting confused. Yeah.
Yeah, you put so
yeah, Hell in the Cell. Yep.
Hell in the Cell 1 and 2,
Yep.
Warrior and Savage, TLC 2, Bailey and Sasha.
Yep.
That's 5.
Kenny Omega,
and Okada. That's 6.
a Warrior Savage, of course.
I already put that one
All
on
right,
there. So we're at 6 for you.
I had 9. I'm now mad at myself.
Trying to think. Who else did you?
Oh, my favorite match of all time. CM Punk with Cena Bomber, that Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's talk about it.
That's my favorite match of all time.
Okay.
That it had everything. Amazing build-up.
Yep.
An amazing story.
Yep.
An amazing match. And everyone knows I need my chef kiss. Him with the belt, looking straight into Vince McMahon's little baby eyes and blows him the kiss.
Yep.
Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, in Chicago, no less.
In Chicago,
in
yes.
His
The crowd
hometown.
too, yes. The crowd was on fire.
Go back in the archives.
Yep.
For those listening, Dennis and I did a watch along of that match. On I believe it was the 10-year anniversary. It might have been the 10-year anniversary. Anyway, Dennis and I did a watch along of that match. You can go in the archives and find it. That pay-per-view, in my opinion, might be one of the greatest non-Big Four pay-per-views of all time. With that match,
bottom, that was incredible.
So you had Punk and Cena for the WWE title. You had Randy Orton and Christian for the World Heavyweight title.
Awesome match.
You had 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, and then you had Mark Henry and Big Show. At the time, Mark Henry was doing that like Hall of Pain gimmick where he was just tearing through everybody, and Big Show was the next one in line. I mean, there was a girls' match. I don't remember it, but the Chicago crowd were on fire, and that angle, I think, really like with Punk threatening to walk out. It was that takeoff. Now, it was a takeoff from what they did in Ring of Honor. Did you see the original angle in Ring of Honor?
No.
Where he left with where he was leaving with the belt.
Oh, yeah.
Summer of Punk.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I knew of it.
Okay, so what did you think of that compared to the what he did with Cena?
Oh, they totally blew it. That's where people thought he was gonna go to New Haven, Connecticut, in a 500 room ballroom and challenge some schmuck is gonna challenge him for the WWE title. You know what I mean? It would have been amazing if he did that.
Now, great match aside, do you think that they hot-shotted his return with the belt when he came back like 2-3 weeks later?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But granted, though, SummerSlam...
They needed a big match.
Yeah.
So it made sense for him and Cena to do it for the Undisputed Championship. Okay. All right. That match, surprisingly, wasn't on my list. Okay. But I'll go through... and you know what the funny thing is, too? There's not many matches on the list that I compiled that you actually have.
I didn't think you were going to snipe me.
No, I didn't. I mean, I have some more. Now, do you have any tag matches on your list?
See, I gotta be really in the mood for a tag match. I mean, I love a good Dudley ECW match.
Other than the triangle match, the ladder matches, the tag team ladder matches, but like a regular standard tag team match.
That's what I meant. That's what I thought. You
okay.
Meant. No.
So I got a few honorable mentions when it comes to the tag teams.
Yeah, give it to me. I'm so intrigued.
The 10-man tag from Calgary Stampede, Hart Foundation against Stone Cold Steve Austin, Legion of Doom, Goldust, and Ken Shamrock.
I love that whole pay-per-view.
DIY and Revival, 2 out of 3 falls from NXT TakeOver Toronto. Revival versus American Alpha from NXT TakeOver Dallas.
That was good.
Here's one that you'll be surprised at.
Yeah.
And this is the only of 2 AEW matches I would ever consider putting into the WWE Hall of Fame.
That for the record.
Okay?
I had one that almost made it.
The Young Bucks against Hangman and Kenny Omega from AEW Revolution 2020.
That was a good match.
Okay? And then Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes from Double or Nothing in 2019.
That was mine. I thought about putting in that you know why I didn't? Because I'm telling you, 5 years from now, people are going to forget it.
Cody and Dustin?
Yeah. It's already kind of getting forgotten a little bit.
I guess because Cody's doing such good work in WWE.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I could see that. Another tag team match that deserves an honorable mention. This might ruffle some feathers here. Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle against Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero from No Mercy 2002 in the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Tournament Finals.
Talking about a forgotten banger. That's a
great
pick.
That's a deep cut.
That's a forgotten banger.
That was on my list of potentials. Another one that was on my list of potentials was Edge and Christian and the Hardys in the No Mercy Tag Team Ladder Match, the first ever Tag Team Ladder Match.
I don't remember that at all. Jeez.
That was the one where they grabbed the money and the Hardy Boys were with Terry Runnels. It was before the TLC matches.
All right, yeah.
Okay?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember.
Another tag team match that almost made the list was New Day and the Usos, Hell in the Cell.
That is, I know this kind of contradict. Excuse my speech impediment.
Contradict.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind of because I have 2 Hell in a Cell matches in my Hall of Fame, but because this one with the outside looking in. It's my favorite look rate Hell in a Cell match I've ever seen.
Okay. Another tag team match that almost made my Hall of Fame was the Wyatts and the Shield from Elimination Chamber 2014. I thought that was one of the best 6-man tag team matches I'd ever seen.
It was good.
Okay. Now, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Are there any TNA matches that make your Hall of Fame?
I was going to get to that. I think the greatest wrestler of all time, work rate wise, is AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
I tried so hard to put an AJ Styles match in. I wanted Angle versus him, or one of those, those X Factor matches, whatever they
Ultimate
fucking
X.
call them.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it, man.
Okay. See, I got 2 matches that come to mind that involve AJ Styles. One being the Ultimate X from Final Resolution 2005, as he takes on Chris Sabin and Petey Williams. It was infamous for that spot where Sabin drop kicked Styles, and Styles kind of was hanging from that wire, and he did like the inside out bump, and almost was like this close from dropping on his head. And another match that I thought about putting in was AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe from TNA Unbreakable 2005.
That's a great match.
So those are 2 TNA matches that made my almost list. I got a lot here. Trying to think what else.
How about
what else do you have? Do you have anything?
I thought about Sting Hogan. Another very impactful match
from Starrcade.
Yeah, but it was a stinker. So
the finish was shit.
Yeah, fuck you, Hogan, for that.
Yeah,
that should have been all time great because he did that. He tried to go to business for himself.
Yeah,
it became a stinker. Fuck you, Hogan, for that.
Okay, all right.
That should be, but that I want maybe Vader, Cactus Jack. There's just something that would be in the Hall of Very good. I just couldn't put it in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, that's fair enough. Any other matches you got that come to mind?
No, that's it. That's pretty much complete my list.
Okay, so I got 2 more that makes my list. So far, all right. So far, let's run this down. So Dennis, you've had Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada from Wrestle Kingdom. You've had Sasha and Bayley from NXT TakeOver. You've had Hell in the Cell Undertaker Shawn Michaels and Hell in the Cell Undertaker Mankind. You've had The Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man Randy Savage from WrestleMania 7. You've had, that's 5.
DLC, of course.
TLC 2 from WrestleMania 17, Edge and Christian, Hardys and Dudleys. That's 6.
And Cena Bomber.
Cena and CM Punk from Money in the Bank 2011. Anything?
I'm proud of that list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any Ric Flair matches that come to mind?
I see again, Steamboat Flair was incredible. Oh, 92 Rumble, of course.
Okay, you just put 92. So
that's technicality. That's technical.
No, that's 8 matches.
Yeah.
All right, so that's right there. So that's 8 matches you've had out of the 9 that you mentioned that you had in your.
I had
list.
9. I'm missing one. I'm kicking myself. I guess that, you know what? If I can't remember,
we'll
then
save it for another day.
Yeah.
We'll definitely save it for another day. All right. Rounding out my class, speaking of Ricky Steamboat, is his WrestleMania 3 match with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Great match.
Yes. And at the top of my list is my favorite WrestleMania match of all time, the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, the greatest wrestling match of all time, anywhere, bar none. The best match from either of these two individuals, WrestleMania 25, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. Makes the top of my list as the Hall of Fame into the Immortal Moments section of the WWE Hall of Fame.
I love that match to death, but I grind my teeth when people say it's the greatest match of all time.
Okay, well, let's have the discussion then. What's the greatest match of all time? If it's not Shawn Michaels Undertaker, what's the greatest match of all time?
Like I said, for work rate wise.
Okay, but I'm asking you the question.
All right,
if you don't believe that's the greatest match of all time,
Omega versus Okada.
Omega versus Okada is the greatest wrestling match of all time.
Absolutely, it never stopped. There was no grace periods. Like Taker, he hits the cameraman, then the match stops. And it was too. And it was like proper. And it was like when it was done, because it was Taker, Shawn Michaels, and the WWE propaganda hits, and it's like, this is the greatest match of all time because we say it is. And I was like, fuck you for that. Let us have our own opinion. Anyway, so that's what.
Well, you know what it was done. You know why it was done that way. That you know.
But they're going to do it again.
No, because it creates discussion amongst fans.
That's true.
You know. They think it's the greatest match of all time. You obviously felt different. You felt it was Omega and Okada from was it Wrestle Kingdom, right?
Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay. Yeah, that about does it. I had a lot of fun with this. I appreciate your time, and I liked some of your picks. Do you have any more honorable mentions that didn't make your picks for Hall of Fame?
So the one that did that, like I said, that should go on in, it was on my list because I knew you were going to pick, was Hogan Giant.
Hogan Andre, okay.
Let's just say if I was making my own, it was just my own podcast and I'm talking by myself.
Yep.
That definitely is on there. And I think that's pretty much it, man.
Okay.
Like I wanted... I don't want it to be the Hall of Very Good. I wanted it to be like the creme of the creme.
There are 2 matches that I had. All right, so before we end this, there are 2 more matches that I had that almost made the cut. Because I was going to try to break it down from like, all right, a main event match, maybe a women's match.
I just got one for the record, but anyway.
Oh, go ahead.
I totally forgot. But the Iron Man match at SmackDown that Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar that
almost made it.
No, I want that in.
You want that in?
I want that in.
Okay.
That hit me like a sack of potatoes.
Okay.
I can't believe I totally forgot about that. I think that's the greatest TV match I've ever seen.
That was when Brock won the belt?
Yeah.
He beat Kurt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the greatest TV match I've ever seen.
That's a hell of a match.
Yeah.
And to put an Iron Man match on TV at the time was very challenging. But I do remember that match. That was a really good... I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of the Iron Man concept.
Me neither.
Okay?
It's only very boring.
The Bret Hart Shawn Michaels match, to me,
I don't like it.
I'm in that same boat with you. I am not, for years, okay? For years, excuse me, I've had a hard time putting that up there as one of the greatest matches of all time.
I love the memes, Dave, that goes, Shawn Michaels worked the arm for an hour and then kicked them in the head. I think that hits that
I never saw that.
button.
I never
right
saw that.
on the button.
I never saw that meme.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time rationalizing that was one of the greatest matches of all time. I think if you put that match in today's time period, with the way fans are, with what their expectations are for a wrestling match.
Oh, they would get booed out the building.
No, I think people would enjoy it more.
Really?
Yeah.
I think they would get booed out the
building.
building.
If you put that kind of a match in an AEW setting, I think people would like it.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay?
I know what you mean.
I think
by
today's
that
like smarmy, smart mark wrestling fan might actually like it. Back then, I thought it was too long, and it didn't resonate with me. And then I remember having an argument or a disagreement with someone over this match, and I said, you know what, I'll go back and I'll watch it again. And I put my phone away, because phones can be a distraction, and I sat and watched it from beginning to end. And the story in the match made sense, and they told a great story, okay? I think it was put in the wrong time period. I don't think the fans in 1996 could appreciate that type of match. But I still think that there's parts of it where it's just like it drags. Now, if you shaved off 15, 20 minutes of that match, it'd have been a classic. Absolute classic. But it was way too long.
Yeah.
And there have been very few Iron Man matches since then, where I've been like, wow, this is great. Brock and Kurt was one of them. It was an excellent match. And I think what helped that match, too, was the fact that it was on TV. And you had commercial breaks. So a guy had a fall. Oh, Angle's up 1-0. All right, we'll be back. We're going to commercial break. It gave you a little bit of a break instead of just sitting through the whole thing for an hour like you would on pay-per-view. Now, the last Iron Man match I watched was from an AEW pay-per-view a couple of years ago. It was Bryan Danielson against MJF for the World Heavyweight title.
That was a good match.
Okay? And the story going into that match I thought was genius, was that MJF's not this kind of a wrestler to compete in these matches. Bryan can go in this type of setting. MJF can't.
And the fucker won.
And he won. And I thought the story was genius in that Max, he's not this type of wrestler. This is out of his realm, and Bryan's going to expose him. But what's MJF going to do, since he's such a sneaky prick? That how's he gonna survive this? You know? And he went and pulled out every trick in the book to make sure that he walked away as the champion and kept the belt. So that's one of my favorite there's not many favorite Iron Man matches I have, but that match was great because I thought it told an excellent story. And I think the story going into Bret and Shawn at WrestleMania 12 was boring. It was, let's see who's going to get the most falls in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
How can I out wrestle you?
They should have been at least 1-1, 0-0 too. Yeah,
and then to go into overtime. Yeah, it was a little much. And I think because fans don't receive that match as, or look at that match as an all-time classic, then WWF or WWE, they had to change how they structure these Iron Man matches moving forward. And obviously they don't do many of those. That's very few and far between. They've done some of those 30-minute Iron Man matches, which those you can digest a little better.
Way more
because
powerful.
it's not an hour. I mean, I think I remember seeing a Kurt Angle Shawn Michaels 30-minute Iron Man match that was relatively good, and I think I remember seeing Hardy's against Cesaro and Sheamus in like a 30-minute tag team Iron Man match. I never saw that. Which was supposed to be pretty good. But yeah, though the Iron Man match doesn't do it for me whatsoever. But your Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, I definitely put that on there. All right, let's close this out. One last thing. I'm drawing a blank here. Oh, a couple more honorable mentions on my behalf that almost made this. These are two matches I want you to check out. Okay,
Yeah.
We talked about tag team matches, and we talked about how some tag team matches almost didn't make the cut. There were two more that I totally forgot about that are on my list. One, you go YouTube this. This was a tape trader's wet dream back then. Bret Hart and Owen Hart against the Steiner brothers from the WWF in a Coliseum home video exclusive.
Yeah, I never saw that.
You've never seen that?
No.
You have to watch that match. That is a great tag team wrestling match. Okay? The second, Sting and Lex Luger against the Steiner brothers from Super Brawl 1.
I must have seen it, but I don't know. Yeah.
The match was great until the finish. Nikita Koloff runs in and attacks Sting and totally screws up the finish. But the match itself,
Yeah.
chef's kiss right there from before the finish. Those two almost made my Hall of Fame. Okay? With that being said, let's wrap this up. I appreciate your time, dude.
Yeah, this was a fun podcast.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one.
Now, before we go, because I know I've been dragging this out for a while. We're at an hour and 20 minutes or so. If there's one match that you could predict that will make it into the Hall of Fame next year, what do you think it'll be?
So I common sense, it just has to be Hogan Andre the Giant. It just has to be. And it just has to be.
I think if they've cooled off the Jets on Hogan a little bit, if things have cooled off with him, I could see them doing it. I could also see them not doing it, and I could see them doing Shawn and Undertaker. I could see them doing Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, WrestleMania 10 ladder match.
That's a great pick, actually.
I could see them doing that. Something that,
I thought for sure when we gave this concept, I wanted to rewatch for the record that Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. That's an honorable mention for me, but it just couldn't make it.
Yeah,
couldn't do it.
That's a very good match. The greatest WrestleMania opener in the history of WrestleMania, in my opinion.
It's hard to argue.
Which we've talked about in the archives. You can find that. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, dude. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Definitely gonna be back. I got the polls open, so we're gonna be reviewing something. Not sure what we're gonna be reviewing yet, but it's either going to be WCW Spring Stampede 2000 or WWF Backlash 2000. I know the last time we reviewed a WCW pay-per-view,
It didn't go very well.
It did not go very well. No.
That argument might have been our worst podcast we ever did, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was a brutal watch.
Yes, it was a brutal watch. So it's going to be left up to the audience. If there's a dead tie, I'm going to make the pick. Because last time we had a dead tie between ECW on Living Dangerously and WCW Uncensored, I let you choose, and it turned out to be.
I was curious.
Yeah, you were curious, all right. Yeah, you were so curious that you paid attention when we were watching, and then you forgot half the shit we watched when we were reviewing it. So,
you worked third shift and then try to watch that piece of shit.
That's fair. I totally get it. So be on the lookout for that coming up in the next few weeks. But next week, on our next episode, I'll be reviewing WrestleMania 6 from start to finish. I just watched it recently. You guys voted for it in the polls. You guys smashed the polls with it. So I'm going to review that for all of you next week and preview the WrestleMania card coming up as we get closer and closer to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And, that's about it. So, again, Dennis, thank you.
A lot of fun.
I will see you on the next one. And with that being said, I think it's about that time we put this one officially down for the 3 count. And we will see you all next time.